Hi guys, this is Erica Weston with Fox Sports Midwest, and you're listening to my favorite St. Louis Blues hockey podcast, Let's Go Blues Radio.
Welcome to Season 8, Episode 79 of Let's Go Blues Radio, the often imitated but never duplicated, the original St. Louis Blues hockey podcast. We're broadcasting live on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. This is franchise episode number 265 all-time. Your hosts tonight are yours truly, Kurt Price, Bill Day, and Jeff Ponder. And for your listening pleasure for the next little while, we'll be talking Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues hockey. To interact with the show on social media, you can follow the show on Twitter at LGB Radio. My account is at Kurt Price. Bill's is at Billy Blue Note, and Jeff's is at JPonder94. You can follow us on Instagram, and we're dual live streaming each week on YouTube and Facebook. For those of you watching the live streams right now, feel free to comment in the live chats, and we'll address what we can. The website is letsgoblues.com, where you can listen to or watch past episodes of the show, browse the fan discussion forum, as well as get some cool St. Louis Blues themed t-shirts and stickers that helps support the show. Guys, we're back in the series.
Yeah, and hey, are we going to talk over each other the whole time again?
I don't know.
I think we should.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah.
I think we have our issues solved, everybody, for who paid attention to last week's show. So hopefully...
Do not.
I'm just saying,
do not
I
count
think...
those chickens before they're hatched.
I think. But we'll see.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully with you streaming it from your place this time, it'll, because Bill and I, or me in particular, we had issues since the storms last week. So internet's been going in and out. Not a ton, but every so often it just goes out for a few minutes and comes back, and that would screw up the show this week. So Jeff's taking the reins this week with streaming. So, and
what a great job I've done.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
We're about a minute into the show.
Yeah.
Seamless. I've had a great minute.
Your probationary period's going well.
Woohoo!
I do believe last week's show was great the first 5 minutes too.
Yeah. I was going to say, if there are any Spectrum employees or techs that are listeners of the show, why don't you get a work order put in to come check out Kurt in my neighborhood, because things have not been good since those storms.
You mean the Let's Go Blues Radio studios?
Right.
Yes, at the Let's Go Blues Radio studio
in Troy, Illinois location.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am too lazy to call them and report it. But,
I did. I didn't call them. I was on online chat, and I was on hold. Someone with you shortly for an hour, and I was prepping for the show tonight, and I just had that window open, and it was over an hour, and I was like, just screw this. I mean, I'll call back later or whatever. But good old Charter
which
Spectrum
tells me they know something, or it's widespread, not just here. So,
well, I know my neighborhood has it, and you have it, so it's the area, apparently. The official beers of episode number 278. Don't forget to follow us on the Untapped app. My account is cprice12, Jeff's is jponder94, and Bill is Billy Blue Note 33. To check out what beers we're drinking. Guys, what do you got tonight? Bill, what you got?
Oh, made a quick switch there. Ponder thought he was getting the go tonight.
I was faked out, man. It was like a perfect juke from Marshall Faulk.
Our line starts. Yeah, it's tonight. I've been sitting on this one for a little bit, but thought it was perfectly appropriate. ROR came to mind. I don't know why. Could be that he's the MVP of the fucking playoffs. But I'm drinking Rye on Rye maple syrup ale by Boulevard. I think I've had it on the show before. I've been cellaring a couple since the winter months. But man, this is a good beer. 12% alcohol by volume. Some nice maple flavor to it. Nice and malty. And it couldn't be more appropriate. Yeah.
Jeff.
That is an excellent beer, by the way. So, yes, the ROR, that's a perfect drink right now. But I am going with, and those that follow me on Twitter and Instagram know that I made a joke about this Friday night. This was my beer of choice for all of last year's playoffs, the Schlafly Pale Ale. And I just said, hey, sorry, St. Louis, I'll start drinking these again now. And that did not work out, obviously, Friday night, so I did not do the same thing Sunday. But I will say that I was drinking them a lot on the show still, so I'm still counting it as our good luck charm. So the Pale Ale from Schlafly, one of my favorites. So give it a try. Good stuff.
I'm going with one of my favorites this evening. It is the Peanut Butter Porter from Saugatuck Brewing in Michigan. I'm a big fan. I've had it on the show a few times and went back to it tonight because I like it. That's good enough for me. So there's the can for those that, if I can find it. I think it's backwards on this camera. There you go.
Hey, it looks good, though. It looks right for us. It does. You don't need to worry about that.
Good. Alcohol 5.7 by volume. 12-ounce can.
So you can have a few.
I have two down here, so I can have I may have another one later on.
Real quick, I just want to tell our listeners, I know I'm usually the guy that reads the YouTube comments, but I'm leaving that to Kurt and Bill this time. Since I'm the one manning the show, I don't want to have too many things running and bogging down my computer speed. So I apologize, Jimmy, Austin, if you guys are in there. I will not be reading your comments this episode.
Well, I'll take care of it. I got it up here. And there's a number of questions so far about Blues play and Binnington and Allen and stuff. So we'll get those in a second. Don't worry about it. Today in Blues history, courtesy of the @STL Blues History Tour accounts, August 19th, 2020. This is August 19th, 1982. Blues assistant coach Steve Ott was born on this date, 1982. He was born in Summerside, Prince Edward Island in Canada. He turns 38 today, drafted in the first round, 25th overall in the 2000 entry draft, had 109 goals, 179 assists, 288 points, 1,555 penalty minutes in his 14-year NHL career, 3 of which were spent with St. Louis. He came over in the Ryan Miller trade from Buffalo. He was Buffalo's captain at the time, I believe. Wasn't that right? He was the captain of Buffalo when he was traded?
Yep.
Yes.
That's mind-boggling to me. He was not particularly productive with the Blues. Only 3 goals, 14 assists in 122 games played, and fans had a love-hate relationship with him here. But for me, I think his best moment with the Blues was his beautiful between-the-legs blind pass to Steen in triple overtime against the Blackhawks in Game 1 of the 2014 Stanley Cup playoffs. That was pretty sweet.
It was. I do remember that very well. I thought, that's the reason we got the guy, that one pass.
For a few years there, 3-4 years at least, he was a stud fantasy hockey guy. Because he had a few 20-goal seasons and put up a ton of penalty minutes.
Yeah,
he was playing with Brad Richards or somebody in Dallas, right? That's why he was putting up a ton of points.
Yeah, he was like the heir apparent to Brendan Morrow. Because back if you used the fantasy default settings in either Yahoo or ESPN, you couldn't get better than Brendan Morrow. And then when he started the decline of his career, Ott came along and had that 2 or 3 season stretch, like you said, and he was just absolutely, killer for fantasy.
Phil, was that Yoel Armia again? Who just scored?
I think it was, but I don't have a good feeling about this now, because the Habs are without Kotkaniemi for probably the rest of the playoffs after his stupid fucking hit. So.
Yeah. And for anyone who's wondering what we're talking about, it is 2-2 right now, 9:33 left in the second between the Canadiens and Flyers.
I just turned it on.
Habs had a 1-0 lead. Kotkaniemi.
Packer Yami, I think is how you say it.
Yeah. Announcer's nightmare took a flying leap at Travis Sanheim, 5-minute major, game misconduct, probably multi-game suspension, and the Flyers scored 2 goals on the ensuing 5-minute power play. But the Canadiens have tied it, and looks like they might be getting an extended power play because Sanheim just put his stick in the face of Jake Evans. So,
are you sure you don't pronounce it footy pajamas?
I prefer the Don Cherry pronunciation. Packer Yami.
Rapid fire tidbits from around the NHL. The Chicago Blackhawks
we just did that.
What? Have
we
left
just
the bubble.
Did rapid fire.
Yeah. Have left the bubble. That's a shame. What a shame. A team that was not supposed to be there in the first place has left the bubble. So
I can't believe the 12th seed is already out of the playoffs.
Yeah. Who knew? Who figured?
Yeah.
Ralph Clausen, 225 games for the Blues, which was half of his career. Played a lot with Federico Sutter and Wayne Babbage. Was with the Blues from 79 to 83. He passed away on August 3rd from cancer. That cancer can be a bitch.
Yep.
Seems to get everybody sooner or later.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a player here in a second. Obviously, I don't remember much about Ralph Clausen. Clausen, however you say his name. I never saw him play before my time, but I do know that in Bernie's book he's mentioned a lot, and obviously playing with you have to be some kind of talent to play with Federico Sutter or Babbage. So it's a real shame to see a member of the Blues alumni pass on. But like Kurt said, cancer seems to get us sooner or later.
Yep. That's what they say. They say if you don't die from anything else, you will die from cancer.
Yep.
Like it will get you eventually. So that's the enlightening comment of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Dale Hawerchuk. This was happened yesterday. Lost his battle with cancer yesterday. He spent 1 season with the Blues in 95-96. Scored 13 goals, 28 assists. In his 66 games played with the Blues. He was traded to Philadelphia late that season for Craig McTavish. So he was the number 1 draft pick in the 81 draft, ended up as the leading scorer in the first iteration of the Winnipeg Jets, finished second in the Hart Trophy voting to Wayne Gretzky in 80-45. That's no small feat. He has the record for assists in one period, which is 5, and he had 6 100-point seasons, including 5 in a row. So that was in the high goal production era. 7 40-goal seasons with 13th on the all-time scoring list when he retired. So his 1.19 points per game is 12th in NHL history, and became a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2001. He was only 57 when he passed away yesterday. Hawerchuk was traded to Buffalo after a long career in Winnipeg. Do you know who Buffalo gave up to get him?
I can tell you. I know now.
Well, okay, to our listeners, do you know who Buffalo gave up? Buffalo, the shrewd trade masters that we know them as, who they gave up to get Hawerchuk. And Hawerchuk had a nice career with Buffalo, but they gave up Scott Arniel, who had a nice 11-year career. Arniel. Jeff Parker, who didn't last long in the NHL. Phil Housley, who was a Hockey Hall of Famer, fantastic American-born player.
Buffalo at that time too was a good NHL defenseman. Like he was up and coming, and they already knew what they were getting in him, and they moved him.
And they got Buffalo's 1990 first-round draft pick, 19th overall, who ended up being Keith Kachuk. So they give up. They ended up giving up a truckload for Howard Chuck, which in hindsight probably not the best deal for them. Even though Howard Chuck, like I said, had a nice career in Buffalo, 275 points in 342 games, 34 points in 30 playoff games there. But you give up Phil Housley and the draft pick that brought in Keith Kachuk. Wow, that's a lot.
At that point, obviously Howard Chuck was kind of on the downhill slide of his career. But it's funny because when I think of Dale Hawerchuk, what team do you guys think of? I think of Buffalo because obviously it's easy to say St. Louis, but obviously you get past that. The team that I remember him with mostly is Buffalo, but that's just because of my age, I think.
Well, I think Buffalo because of the video games, right? Because the Winnipeg Jets, it was Teemu Selanne and Keith Kachuk were the Jets from the video game era. But yeah, Howard Chuck was, Howard Chuck, LaFontaine, McGillney, great team in NHL '94, right?
Oh yeah. But yeah, so this sucks. Obviously, again, same as Ralph Klassen to lose Dale Hawerchuk, a Hockey Hall of Famer, I believe, one of the NHL's 100, right? Top 100.
Yes.
Obviously, you can say Blues legend. He's one of those guys that you look at the rosters the Blues could have put together if they were all in their prime, and Dale Hawerchuk, I think, cracks that roster.
Short
question.
Short of like maybe Edmonton, Montreal, maybe Toronto. Man, the Blues are up there as far as like all-time greats coming through. Man, they've
imagine a top line of Gretzky, Hawerchuk, and Hall with Brodeur and net, McInnes and Pronger on D. I mean that's ridiculous.
I know. Where do you put Oates? Where do you put Turgeon? Where do you put? God.
Even like Glenn Anderson. They had some unbelievable players in their time.
Tikkanen. You put him on a Blues squad. I guess that's been done, right? Players have come through the Blues organization and like in their prime. If you could have them on your team, just the players that play for the Blues to fill out a roster, that'd be kind of fun to do. You got
to assume the Blues have one of the best teams when you look at it that way.
That's what I'm saying.
Any team that could say they had Wayne, even any team that say they had Wayne Gretzky and Brett Hall, that's almost unbeatable. And then Martin Brodeur in net and Grant Fuhr. Jesus.
Oh, God. That's your goal. Is your goalie tandem Grant Fuhr? Who do you choose? You got Grant Fuhr, you got Brodeur, you got Jacques Plante, you got Glenn Hall, you got and there was a as far as like all-time greats go, that's
Jason Bokashua.
Jason, Cash, he's in there.
Chris Beckford Sue,
Jablonski, he's in there.
Friend of the show, Curtis Sanford.
Right. Brathwaite's in there. So, who's your goalie tandem all time in their prime? The players that play for the Blues all time, in their prime. Who would you choose as your goalie tandem for the Blues?
I could guess what Bill's is, but I'd have to go just by players I've seen. So for me, I'd have to go Fuhr Brodeur. There's really no wrong answer here. Really, there's not.
Yeah, goalies in their prime would be probably not that I ever got to see him play, but I would say Glenn Hall and Martin Brodeur.
Yeah, it's hard to not put Brodeur in there, being the all-time wins leader. So but you
can't go wrong with Grant Fuhr either.
Right? No, I know,
Fuhr,
because so many people say
Grant
Fuhr is like
Jacques
the greatest ever that play with him, which is funny because Fuhr, those who played with Fuhr will say, a number of them will say he's the greatest goalie ever. But for those that didn't play the game or didn't play with him, maybe wouldn't necessarily put him on that list just because they're going by numbers and stuff. But I think that a lot to be said for those who actually play with him on the ice. They put him up there. A number of players have said it, that he's the greatest ever, which is
including Wayne Gretzky.
Including Wayne Gretzky. Yeah. There was a documentary on NBCSN the other day about those top 10 lists and stuff, and they had interviews with different retired players and stuff, and yeah, a lot of them said Fuhr was best ever.
Well, let's not get lost in what the main reason of why this came up was Dale Howardchuk. Only thing I'll add, I mean, obviously it's sad. You go on Twitter, Facebook, you'll see what everybody's saying. And we are on a bit of a time crunch here, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But obviously, sad to see Dale Howardchuk go. I said on Twitter, and I 100%, this is a true story. I remember he was one of the first. I think he might have actually been outside of Jeff Brown, which was the story I always told. I think he was the first player I went to an autograph signing for outside of Jeff Brown. And I remember my dad was taking me, and I was like nervous because I'm like, oh, I hope he's not a jerk. Because, I always hear these stories about athletes being jerks. And that was the one that my dad was like, hockey players are the nicest people in the world. You will not meet a nicer group of people, especially professional athletes. And then I met Dale Howardchuk. And again, I mean, I was a kid. I was, 10, 11 years old when I met him. And I just was, star-eyed. And even though I barely knew about, his past and how good he actually was at that time, he was just a genuine dude. Asked me if I played, and I remember just having a conversation with him, even though there was 100 people behind me. And then I know my dad said that there was a friend of his at the end of the line, and he asked him the next day, yeah, you were at the end of the line. You probably didn't get through, right? Because it closed at like 9:00. And of course, he was one of those guys that stayed until everybody got an autograph. So just one of the true nice guys in sports, and it's a real shame to see him go so early.
So I guess Hart is just allowing. Was it Stetcher type goals?
Tell the neighborhood. Yeah, no, it was a deflection off of
off
the big Russian defenseman. Yeah,
Okay.
But after the Canadians took the lead, Suzuki patted Carter Hart on the head, so I think he got into his head. And so it gives up the next goal, and Brian Elliott is now in net.
Chris Frank of Blues Hockey Podcast is losing his mind right now.
Is he in net though?
Yeah, it's him. He's in net.
Yeah, Elliott's going in.
Okay, I mean, I guess I'm behind by
a
minute or so because Hart's still on the ice.
Drouin is offside. That's coming back.
Oh, I'm behind on you guys.
Yeah, he's right.
Oh, yeah, it looks like he is. Wow.
But Suzuki is dominating this game right now.
Yeah, he's easily offside. So we got some comments here about the.
But that's actually a really good question. So your goalie just gave up that goal. You've already yanked him, but you're going to overturn it. Do you put the goalie back in?
They didn't yank him though, did they?
Elliott was putting his helmet on. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. That's not even close.
No, it's not even close.
But
I'd still yank him. He still gave up a goal that he shouldn't have given up.
If I'm the Canadians, I crash the net real fucking fast.
It
was a deflection off of Provorov.
I wouldn't pull him. He's back in. I wouldn't pull him.
Yeah.
It's
Dan Aykroyd just gave him the attaboy.
So we got a lot of comments in the chat about the series and stuff. So we'll get to it here. Round 1 versus Vancouver. After dropping the first two, Vancouver. After dropping the first 2 games versus Vancouver, the Blues have come back to win the next 2. Thank God. Game 1, Vancouver wins this one 5-2. The Canucks, they're going into this series. We knew their power play was going to be tough, even though the Blues had a similarly number-wise power play during the season. Vancouver's power play was something to look out for, and they did. They got 3 power play goals in this game, 2 goals overall from Horvat. And to be honest, I thought this game was horseshitly called as far as officiating goes. I mean, like anybody, I get upset and irritated by calls I disagree with, but I will rarely like harp on officiating unless it's warranted. In my opinion, and I think this game was. I thought ticky tack.
I think every game. I mean, I thought the last two have been better.
Stuff.
The last two have been better. Game 3 was probably the best officiated. But games 1 and 2, and yes, even game 4 were awful. The ticky-tack bullshit calls and on both teams. There was a couple times where Vancouver got a penalty, and I was like, "What? That's not that's a defensive play. Like, what are you doing?" And I would prefer and not just because I'm a Blues fan, and not just because I'm a hockey fan. Let them play 5-on-5. My favorite part of hockey is 5-on-5 hockey, and it just so happens that's what the Blues are best at too.
Mine
by
too,
a country mile.
Yeah, here's the deal with, and this is always kind of funny that it's my rally cry too. Keep it 5-on-5. Keep it 5-on-5. It's because we dominate 5-on-5. that's part of the reason. And I'll admit,
even back when the Blues, had Tkachuk, Turgeon, Young, Pronger, and McInnes on the power play, and it was pretty much a foregone conclusion they were always going to score. I still said, let them play 5-on-5. Let's see 5-on-5 hockey, because to me, that is truly how you determine which team is better. If a team goes out and scores 5 power play goals and wins 5-4, and the other 4 goals for the other team were scored 5-on-5, that's not a true test of who the better team really was, because you develop your plays 5-on-5. You play the game 5-on-5. Obviously, if you take stupid penalties, that's a different thing. But when you're just calling everything and it's just a special teams battle, to me, that's not hockey. That's not telling you who the real victor of the game really should be.
Well, it shows your depth. I mean, when
guess.
you play 5-on-5, you're hopefully a good team is rolling its 4 lines. And if you're dominating 5-on-5, like the Blues tend to do, and they roll their 4 lines, they're a very deep team, top to bottom. So Vancouver's top heavy on their forward lines. Their top line is very good. Probably better than the Blues top line. We talked about this last week, but top to bottom, top 12, top 4 lines, the Blues easily much deeper team. Even without Tarasenko,
and without Barbashev.
But that first game, I think that actually exacerbated the problem. The Blues' fourth line was McEachern and
they didn't play a lot.
What's his name? Right. They
McEachern, Brouwer, and Delrose.
Brouwer. Yeah, Delrose. Yeah. I mean, he had a couple of opportunities that I think Barbashev would have cashed on. And I think that hurt the Blues. But, as a penalty killer, he's good. But when, there are so many penalties to kill, you don't get McEachern out there, you don't get Brouwer out there, and then you roll them out there and lose the matchup real fast. I just thought that led to the parade, kind of contributed to the parade of the penalty box. And I don't know. I didn't like our matchup in the first game at all.
This first game, I thought, this was a tie game 5 minutes into the third period. So it was 2-2. And up until, the Vancouver scored first in this game. It was midway through the first period, something like that. I thought the Blues didn't play well at all up until that goal. I thought when that goal happened, the Blues played much better in this game. Not that they played great, but I thought honestly, I thought the Blues had the better of the play for the most part during this game. But they couldn't solve Markstrom enough, and Binnington lets in that
weak one.
Yeah, the Stetcher goal. That was 5 minutes into the third period when Stetcher scored on Binnington, and that kind of just killed me. I was like, going into the third period was interesting because the Blues' third periods up to this point in the round robin had been god awful, and they came out in the third period playing very well, and I'm like, okay, they've 5 minutes in, we're playing really good in the third. I honestly felt like we were going to win this game because we came out good in the third. We were getting some chances. I thought, we're going to win this game. We're getting some chances. And we're playing well. And then Setra scores. And then we get the letdown in front where they score again a few minutes later. And it's like, that's it. And it just sucked. So I thought this was a game the Blues, we lost 5-2. I made a comment on Twitter that you could argue the Blues had the better play overall in this game. But Vancouver was opportunistic in their chances, and they had some power play goals, and that was the difference. And Binnington didn't make the big save.
I thought, yes, exactly. I thought the Blues overall, as the game went on, they got better and better and better. And what, like you said, when the third period started, it was, okay, this is the third period Blues we know. Like last season, well, I mean this season and the playoffs last year, they were a third period team. And so they came out firing, and it was, okay, this is Berube was right. They flipped the switch. They're ready to go. And then that weak-ass goal goes in on Binnington. And how many times have we said when a weak goal goes in on Jake Allen, how deflating it is, and how that's why Jake Allen is not a starting goalie. And I'm not saying that about Binnington yet, but I'm just saying that's the kind of goal that cannot go in on your goaltender. You can't do it in a playoff game. And when it happens in a tie game, it's deflating. And I'm not fully blaming Binnington. The Blues, sometimes you expect the team. No. On the goal, yes, I am blaming Binnington. But I'm saying, as a team, they need to step up after that happens and bail out their goalie and go get another goal. And we said the same thing about when Allen would do it. You gotta get past it, and you just gotta motor past it and score another goal, make it even, and then it's a whole new game again. They could never find that next gear after that goal. It deflated them way too much.
Yeah, in that, to be fair,
Binnington,
that was really the first time in his career, right? In since his call up last year, that he gave up what was a deflating goal, right? A lot of time, maybe he's given up a tying goal that you're like, but to give that goal away, which is, I think, the best way to put it, that I don't think you can say anything but call it deflating. The team just seemed shocked by it, didn't know how to react, because here's the guy that put us on his back and carried us most of last year, and he faltered. So I think that was a bit of a shock. And to clarify, so we had a bit of a Twitter conversation after the next game and Horvat's overtime goal, where you said you thought I would call it a leaky goal. The Stetcher goal was leaky.
Okay. Well, okay, I get you. I was just talking about going 5. Somebody said beating him 5-hole. I thought the Stetcher goal was a much worse goal than the overtime goal.
Yes.
I was just referring to as going through a goalie and how maybe I misunderstood when you use the term leaky, but
yeah, no, the Horvat overtime goal was, I think, at that point, Binnington's confidence had taken a hit, and he was doing what Jake Allen typically does on a breakaway and still backing in when the shot was released.
Yeah, the Stetcher goal, we've that's a goal that we've when Allen had his struggles for a couple of years, and those kinds of things were going in on him rather too frequently. And we'd call him out, and it's a shit goal, and we get pissed off, and we are realists and fair people on this show, and God forbid if anybody calls us Allen haters or Binnington fanboys. I think we're more realists than anything, but that was a shit goal, and I was pissed. He's got to have it. There's no sugarcoating anything. You can't make excuses for him at all. It's a terrible goal. And you could argue it cost us a game in the playoffs.
It did,
and it was 100% on him. It was
not
100,
much of an argument.
No, I'm just saying, like Jeff said, you want the team to rebound and rally around that, but they didn't do it. But again, that was the reason, and it was on Binnington. So
it completely changed the flow of the game. The Blues just all of a sudden, it was like they again, this is what we saw back when Jake Allen let in those weak goals before Binnington came up and Allen turned his game around. It was that goal would go in and you'd say, well, they're done. And that's, and at this point, again, that was a leaky, bad goal. But at this point, it was still, well, they're the Blues. They'll bounce back. They always do. They've been a bounce back team since Binnington's come up. And they never found their game again. And that's an issue.
You know what? Do you know what? Okay, so I was going to say that after Binnington allowed that goal, the Stetcher goal, you saw a number of people, you know who they are, say, and you see this comment every now and then, boy, if Allen had allowed that goal, fans would never let him hear the end of it. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. That is not. I'm serious. That is the people that say that kind of a thing. They don't understand the entire situation. The reason why Allen would catch so much flack after that kind of a goal is because that kind of thing happened to him often, and people were tired of it, and they wanted to move on from Allen basically. But they kept putting him out there, and they kept seeing these types of goals too frequently for him. So now when Binnington allows this goal, yeah, it's a shit goal. It's a terrible goal. You can't let it in. But that's not typical Binnington. So and the reason why Allen got the start in Game 3 is because Binnington wasn't playing typical like himself. And I was of the opinion in Game 3 that I thought, you know what? I think you go back to Binnington. I said this online. I was like, I think he's the kind of goalie that's pissed off and is going to come back with a strong Game 3. And we'll get to that a little bit, but that didn't happen, and it was the right call to not go that way.
Yeah, and the way that I always look at it is, and again, nothing. I mean, Jake Allen, since Jordan Binnington's come up, for the most part, has been an elite goalie again.
Sure.
What we've been wanting since he came here to St. Louis, and the way that I've always looked at it is Jake Allen is a guy who's going to go with the flow of the team. If the Blues aren't playing well, Jake Allen's probably not going to play well. If the Blues are playing at the top of their game, Jake Allen's playing at the top of their game. Jordan Binnington, which is why he anointed himself as the starter last year, was because it didn't matter how well the Blues were playing. He would still go out and play a great game and pitch a shutout or give up one goal on 35 shots or something like that. And it was, oh, wow, like this guy, it doesn't matter how good the Blues are doing. He figures out a way to still play his game. And that's the difference between the two goalies, typically, up until, probably this playoff, honestly. And obviously we saw a change here in games 1, 2, 3, and 4, but that's how it's been. And that's why people have kind of clung on to Binnington, I think, because he's a guy who's going to play his A game as much as he can, no matter what. And he's proven that he can do it time and time again. And if he has a bad game, he's going to bounce back the next game and be just fine. That's the difference between the two. But hey, you know what? Again, we'll get to it in a second here, but Jake Allen has proven that he's not that guy anymore, at least at this point.
Bob Rakowski in the YouTube chat says, I was afraid to move while watching the first game because I was afraid they'd call a penalty on me.
There's your comment of the show. Good job, Bob. Like that.
Jimmy Anderson is commenting on the Jeff Brown conversation before. And out of context, this comment is kind of funny in the chat just by itself. Jeff Brown was an awesome dude.
Just a random comment? Yeah.
No,
he was.
That's kind of funny.
Jeff Brown is an awesome dude. He still lives in St. Louis. You ever see him out, he is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, too.
And if you have a chance, if you haven't checked out Jeff's interview with Jeff Brown during the Past to the Future series on Let's Go Blues Radio, check that out. It's a great interview. Good stuff.
He's a great guy. I've met him a couple times over the years, and truly a great hockey mind and a super nice guy, and a guy who likes to have fun too. He's a joker. He's a good dude.
Austin Lynch says, I think of Winnipeg when thinking of Howard Chuck.
Austin, really? He's young. Yeah. Good for you.
Maybe he's a hockey historian.
Maybe.
Let's see. Austin Lynch says at this point, I think we start Allen every game till he needs a break. There's a little discussion. A few people saying about do you start Allen in the next series? Looking ahead to next series already. So we'll get to those in a second. So game 2 after that first game, which again mixed feelings. After the Blues played well, they didn't get the goaltending, they didn't get the result they wanted. Game 2, kind of a similar.
Real quick, I just want to add that Enterprise crowd was really quiet in game 1.
I was disappointed in them in game 2.
Yeah, I was too. What the hell, guys? Come on.
Yeah. I mean, you win a cup, everything else is like first round's like,
Yeah, whatever. It's nothing.
Show for that. First, it's not the final. So the game 2, Vancouver wins this one 4-3 in overtime. This one hurt. Being down 3-1 in the third period. And again, playing a game where they had the better of the play. They couldn't beat Markstrom, wasn't getting the big save from Binnington. Not that any of the goals in this game were terrible against him, but a couple of these goals that he typically makes the saves on. But they're not. I wouldn't call them soft. Maybe you guys disagree, but
I thought there was a couple that were savable. But the issue the Blues had in games 1 and 2 especially, and a little bit in game 3, which Allen came up huge in that game, was Vancouver, their rush is ridiculous. I mean, everybody who's watched the series knows they're a quick team, especially their top 6. Every one of those guys can motor, and they're just getting past the Blues defense. Justin Falk had a couple terrible plays that led to some breakouts and some odd man rushes. Not just him. I mean, there was obviously Parayko and Scandella had a terrible moment. I think that was that game 3 when they ran into each other, which we'll get to. But I mean, the defense and that includes the forwards that are supposed to back check, was just allowing way too many odd man rushes. But the problem is between this year and last playoff, Binnington was coming up with those saves. They would come in, they'd make a big chance, and then all of a sudden Jordan Binnington was coming up with the save. This year, he wasn't. And it's a little frustrating because, again, you do, as much as you want your team to bail out your goalie, you want your goalie to bail out your team. And he wasn't doing it. And that, to me, was the difference between, and again, we will all agree on this show, we are all happy with Jake Allen. We love Jake Allen. If he keeps playing this same way, don't take him out of the net. It's his crease to lose at this point. But back when Jake Allen was a starter and we were complaining about Allen as the starter, he was allowing weak goals. I don't think Binnington has played that weak. It's just he's not making the giant saves that he was making in the past, and that's the difference. And that's why when I see people bitching about Binnington, he's been terrible. No, he's been fine. He's making the saves he's supposed to make. He's just not coming up with the monster saves like we saw in Game 7 last year against Boston. We're just not seeing him make those saves, and that's a big difference in his game.
Well, I think we saw it in the first period of Game 1. I thought Vancouver came with a huge push, and Binnington played very well. I thought he had almost had a repeat of the save that he made on Nordstrom. But after that, he seemed to be giving up the goals that Allen would typically give up when he was in his implosion periods. It's like not to say that he was playing as bad as Allen when Allen completely forgot how to goalie, but it's like they inverted roles, and it's great to have that. And I think I had a bit of back and forth with the ultimate Allen non-fan in Mr. Blues hat, and I think at the end of the day, my thought is, as Blues fans, you can't be married to one guy, right? We need to be
No.
Mormon here. We need to be polygamous. You can't say I'm going with this guy because he's the guy that's done it the entire time. You go with the guy that's getting it done when you need it done, right? You just can't say that Binnington should walk because they decided that Jake Allen should get a start. Jake stabilized this team and gave us a chance to win. Until I see Jake Allen sliding 3 feet out of position, I think he's the guy that goes. Right? He has not given me any sniff of that kind of goaltending.
No,
and
not at all.
You just go with them.
Let's keep things in perspective here too with Binnington. We're talking about Binnington allowing these Jake Allen type goals when Allen forgot how to goalie, which is, I like that term. But let's kind of step back a second here. It's been 2 games for Binnington. I thought he played. I mean, that Colorado game in their own robin, I thought he was fantastic. So it's been 2 games. Granted, it's playoffs, much bigger stage. Everything's magnified and amplified, and everything counts as like 3 games during the regular season, right? So, but it's in 2 games. So, I mean, it's not like he's done. I know there are some Allen fans out there that are like chomping at the bit. All right, now it's Allen's turn. Binnington's done. I don't. First, I don't get that attitude whatsoever. Rooting for one guy over another guy on your team that you're rooting for. Yes.
Yeah.
Why would you? I mean, yeah. Okay. okay. So I'm not saying that the Allen fanboys out there are rooting actively against Binnington. I don't think that's happening.
I think some are.
I think when Binnington falters and allows a goal that maybe he should have had, which every goalie allows from time to time, that a soft goal. You hear the comments. Oh, if Allen would allow that goal, everybody would be over. Like they're on the same level. You know what I mean? Like Allen's won a cup too. Like Allen has done what Binnington has done in his short tenure in the NHL. They're not the same right now. I mean, Allen has been great. He's been great this season, like you said, Jeff, since Binnington came up. Allen's been fantastic. His role on this team where he excels is as a backup. And this is his role as a backup right now, is to provide relief when the number one isn't getting it done. And then as soon as time determines when it's time for Binnington to get the net back, which it will eventually, sooner or later, whether it be, I think it's game to game with Allen. If we lose next game, I mean, you've got a decision to make, depending on how Allen looks. Did he allow some bad goals? Did we lose 2-1 in overtime? Did he play great? Then what do you do? So this is great discussion, fantastic debates that can be had with this stuff. But let's say we lose 2-1 in overtime tonight. Who do you go win Game 6?
Oh, it depends on the goals. That's
what I'm saying. And if the goals are good goals, do you go back to Binnington?
If they're good goals, it's a debate. If they're not good goals, then it's definitely Binnington.
It's tough. Yeah. And I'm glad I don't have to make the decision. But it's actually, we have 2 solid goalies. I mean, when they're both playing well. So it's this season especially. And
I'll say that you look at a team like Boston, who lost Tuukka Rask. Yaroslav Halak's played good enough to win. Obviously, they won their series today. But I bet if Boston was like, I wish we could get a goalie performance like we saw out of Jordan Binnington those first 2 games. Because, again, he played fine. I don't think he played bad. For anybody who said he played bad, watch it again. Watch both those games, because he was not bad. He just, again, wasn't... I mean, Yaroslav Halak for Boston, to make that comparison, he let in a lot of weak goals. And go ahead and watch the condensed games over there on NHL.tv and tell me those goals were not weak. Almost every one that he gave up. He played great. He made some great saves, but he let in some weak ones. And compare those to what Jordan Binnington gave up in losses, and Binnington looked better. than what Yaroslav Halak did. It's just the difference was the Bruins were putting the puck in the back of the net.
The only thing, like I said,
Right.
is the Stetcher goal. The Stetcher goal kind of makes the whole thing shit. I mean, you know what I mean?
Bad goal.
Yeah, and that bad goal, and then a couple of ones where it's like, oh man, when he's on, he has that one. Kind of. I mean, he wasn't what he should have been, but he wasn't like god awful either.
No, but I think it cost him his confidence, because I didn't particularly think that he looked confident in net in game 2, right? And like I said, Horvat came in with a lot of speed on the overtime winner, but Binnington from last year, he sets himself.
He makes that save.
When Horvat hits the top of the circles, Binnington's going to set himself, and he was still backing up when Horvat let that go. I think it was a matter of confidence, and I think that I think that at the end of the day, if I were Berube, to back up the conversation a little bit, if the Blues lose this game 2-1 in overtime, using your hypothetical, I'm going to go back to Binnington in the next game. And I'm not going to say, Jake, this was on you. We just want to change it up again. But the second that Binnington gives up another Stetcher-like goal, I'm going to say, we're going back to the guy that won us the 2 games.
Yeah.
You don't marry yourself to one fucking goalie.
I agree, and I think we're in waters now where with both goalies, especially Allen, it's goal by goal, it's play by play, it's scenario by scenario, based on if you want to remove him and put Binnington back in. It's all eye test stuff too. You can tell if he's not playing the way he should be or needs to be. Like you said, Binnington looks shaky. He looked shaky on a was it a redirection? He couldn't find it, and it just trickled wide. Probably should have found it quicker than he did. So he wasn't seeing the puck like he should have. But to be honest, the overtime winner for Vancouver in Game 2, we can talk about the what led up to that goal was the breakdown in the offensive zone.
Right. Yeah.
Both Petro and Gunnarsson,
Petro and Tarasenko
Shen.
running. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shen covering on the point.
And Shen was covering the point, and he did not see Horvat at all. Which it's Shen. I mean, it's a forward playing at the point on defense. So, but my whole criticism with
cherry
this
picked in an overtime game, right?
Well, I think he was. I mean, he was floating between the points. I think the camera picked him up when he was like 10 feet outside the blue line and like tapping his stick, and Shen's 10 feet inside the blue line. I'm like, oh fuck! And then Petro's still in this high slot, and Gunnarsson's like on the left point with his thumb up his ass, just like, well, I'm just so. But
why am I out here on the power play?
When I'm rewinding this play and I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm breaking it down in my mind. I'm like, what the hell happened? How did this happen? So you got Petro and Tarasenko collide behind the net. Petro goes down, gets up, kind of skates back in front of the goal into the slot, and he hangs out in the slot. And Shen's covering right point. Gunnarsson had slid over left point, so he's just hanging over there. And Shen's not a defenseman, and he's not playing high on the point. He's in a little bit. And Shen's trying to almost knock down or block this outlet pass to Horvat, who's way behind Shen, instead of turning around and hauling ass the other way. And then Petro and Gunnarsson are both behind the play. They can't catch him. So to me, it's a breakdown on, I don't know what Petro was doing. I mean, he should have been, he was way too slow to get back to the point. I'm like, what are you doing? He's just gliding backwards slowly in the slot. I'm like, dude. And then Shen, obviously, if you're going to be a forward, you criticize him only so much, I guess, but he's got to play that better too. And Gunnarsson is like, I don't know, whatever. It was a breakdown completely between those three guys.
But I thought that's what Vancouver did really effectively in the not just the breakaway aspect of it, but the first 2 games. And Petro basically said this after the last game. The neutral zone play by the Blues, right? That play is busted coverage at the top of the zone, but Vancouver was using that left wing to generate all their speed the entire series, those first 2 games. And getting to Game 3, the Blues did a much better job of cutting out that option. And, by game 4, it was almost like it didn't exist. So, go back and watch those first 2 games. How much speed did Vancouver generate into the blue zone on the left wing boards through the neutral zone?
Hey, guys, the only thing I have to add here is this.
Vancouver! I am Ivan Hrvatska!
You're gonna get us flagged on YouTube for playing that.
Kurt, you don't give me the power, because this is the kind of stuff I'll do.
I did that like 3 or 4 years ago, and we got dinged from playing copyrighted content on the show. Fucking YouTube can't play 10 seconds of a song.
Are you guys you guys ready to talk positive now? Can we talk positive?
Let's talk some positive.
Let's talk
All right, let's talk about game 3.
So after in the first 2 games, Vancouver went 5 for 9 on the power play, which is like insane,
ridiculous,
and that had to be cleaned up. And Blues are taking too many penalties. So game 3 that changed. Only 4 penalties were called in this game, and of course Vancouver fans are crying like babies. Not all of them. I'm not going to call all Vancouver fans babies, but man, there were some vocal ones on social media that really just like, oh my god. And I was like, you know what? I looked up an article, the 10 most annoying fans in hockey, and I think Vancouver was 2 or 3.
Yep.
So I think they have a reputation.
I remember the conversations that came with the 2011 final. That those were the 2 whiniest fan bases facing off in the final.
And what happened when Vancouver lost? They tore their city down. So we
did get that great picture though. Do you remember that picture? The couple,
the kiss in the middle. of the street.
Yeah. They were laying down, right?
Yep.
Yeah. They were laying, yeah. That's pretty great. Game 3. This was 3-2 win, overtime. Tarasenko's out in this game. Kairu's in. And speaking of overtime, previous game we didn't talk about that fantastic fucking tying goal by Schwartz to end the game.
That was
7 seconds to go. My daughter said it reminded her of how I reacted when Maroon scored against the Stars in double overtime. So
we lost our minds. We made our kids
cry. Yeah. I was like, 7 seconds to go. You got to be kidding me. They score on what was likely their very last chance, and they got it. So anyway, game 3. Watch on YouTube. Looks like he's feeling her up right there.
It was a little bit rapey.
Wasn't that staged though? Didn't they?
They say it was.
Yeah, they planned it or something. Okay. Anyway, so Tarasenko's out for game 3. So there's speculation what happened, which he hadn't done much in the series anyway. So but they're not missing. Any goal production that he had produced. But the potential.
But it was like making a trade. It was like
it wasn't making a trade.
And it was the worst trade in Blues history, or something.
Kairu's in, which I was actually before this game. I said I want to see Binnington in. I wanted to see Bortuzzo in for
Falk.
That right there is the issue. Is 100%. Bortuzzo, you want to improve your penalty kill. How many blocked shots did Bortuzzo have in the penalty kill the last 3-4 years since he came to the Blues? So that would have been a huge help. But the problem is you're not going to sit Justin Falk because of how much he makes.
Which is sad.
It's just not going to happen.
That's sad.
Because that instantly bumps down all of his trade cred. All of it.
Yeah. Edmondson they got sat too, and we got Falk for him. So
did you guys know that Edmondson outscored Falk this year?
I didn't compare. That doesn't surprise me.
Edmondson had 20 points. Falk had 16.
Falk was terrible.
Not surprised by that. But he also had he was a third line defenseman because of who was playing.
That's true. That's true.
Right? Different responsibilities and everything too. I get it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, going into that game, I was the one leading the charge for, put Bortz in because
me too.
Honestly, that was the playoff lineup for the games that Edmonton sat last year, or Edmonton. Edmundson sat last year during the playoffs, we would have had basically the same lineup rolling out there. And, so it made sense to me. But then Justin Falk just had to go and show up, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because early in this game, I said on Twitter, Justin Falk needs a big goal. He needs something to win fans over because the first 2 games he wasn't good.
No,
he was just typical Justin Falk from the season where he's a whipping boy. He's flubbing passes. He's mishandling pucks.
And that sucked too because we talked about, I think on this show, he wasn't terrible in the round robin. He was one of the better Blues, honestly. So it was okay. Maybe the Blues go in the playoffs kind of stutter stepping a bit, but at least Justin Falk's on his game. And that was not the case for the first 2 games.
It's funny when Falk has a good shift or 2 or 3 or half a good game, it gets pointed out.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Whoa, Falk's playing well. Hey, look at this.
It struck me as when he stepped up in game 3 and had a decent game 4, that it's like having him on the third pairing may be doing him a disservice because he's afraid to step up and be a leader because he's got Pietrangelo, the captain, and Parayko, the who a lot of people have thought would be leadership material in the future in front of him. But he stepped up and he played like a leader in game 3. And if it weren't for him, the Blues had. I really don't think the Blues win game 3.
There was when he scored his first goal of the season. I can't remember what game that was, but I know it was kind of late in the year. It took a while. I remember later in that game just watching him and being like, "Oh man, he's stepping into the play. He's part of the offense. He's not turning the puck over. Like he's playing way more confident." And it was the same thing in this game. He scores that goal. All of a sudden, he's down on the goal line. He's going behind the net with the puck and not losing it. And he's making a clearing pass that's right on the tape to somebody. All of a sudden, his game turned around. And that is, my wife asked me who I have disliked more in their Blues tenure, Eric Brewer or Justin Falk. And my answer was, well, it's got to be Eric Brewer. One, he was here a lot longer. But I'm like, he never gave me hope. I never believed Eric Brewer was going to improve his game. Justin Falk, I see glimpses of what he can be. And it's just, this dude, I can see why he was so highly touted and why Doug Armstrong made the big move to get him. It's just so few and far between that he has games like that. If he can find a way to just be confident and play that way, the way he did in game 3, all the time, that's an all-star defenseman right there.
Okay. We got to get moving here because we're about 15 minutes from game from...
Well, puck drop 9:45. We could probably go to about 9:35.
All right.
No,
so,
I'd say let's get moving. So little breaking news here. Don't know if you guys have seen this on Twitter, but guess who's singing the national anthems tonight?
Charles Glenn?
Charles Glenn.
Oh,
wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Is it recorded or is it live?
He tweeted 20 minutes ago.
Cool.
And he's doing it. He recorded it. He's got a recording studio at home and he's been working on it. So
cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I think they're all
a little emotional boost.
They're all pre-recorded, I'm pretty sure.
So we talked about how good Allen has been for Binnington this game in game 3, 3-2 overtime win. Allen was great. The solidifying force that the Blues needed, making the saves that he should. Granted, the Blues did play better in their own zone. They allowed less high danger chances as well. So even though Allen traditionally has been pretty good, actually, in high danger chances, just he struggles in the mid range chances. Chances. So, but Falk scores. Perron gives the Blues their first lead of the series on a great bad angle shot over Markstrom's shoulder after a pass from O'Reilly. Which Perron, I mean, light years better player than he was when he was with us the first time around. He's I mean, especially in the playoffs. I mean, the guy is just relentless. And and you really hope, and you're not sure how it's going to work out, but you hope that he's not exposed against Vegas. But we'll see. He's got another year yet to go with the Blues. Pettersson scores like 30 seconds later after the Blues had their first lead of the series, so it was short-lived. After Scandell and Parayko collided inside the blue line, turned the puck over. Just a bad sequence. Great shot by Pettersson. Again, this is an example of the Vancouver Canucks being opportunistic in their chances so far in the series. They tied the game up at 2 on a chance that really should have never materialized, and they buried it.
Yeah, and that's something that's been driving me crazy. And I said this, I think, after that goal, and maybe it was even after that, I don't remember. But the fact that the Blues had to work so hard to get every goal, and I'm not taking anything away from Vancouver. They're a hell of a hockey team, and they're going to be good for a long time. But as long as they keep this core together. But yeah, that's the kind of play you see happen, and you just throw your hands up like, what the hell? Hopefully the goalie comes up with a big save here. And obviously it was just a perfect shot from Pettersson. Don't blame Allen at all on that one. And it was just, even though a certain fan of the show who wears a beret would disagree, I don't blame him at all for that.
That was a great shot.
Great shot.
You can't. Allen was on his angle. You can't cover every inch of the net as a goalie.
He
looked and saw a hole and he put it there. And that's what a sniper does.
Gives up that goal. Markstrom's got Allen by 6 inches, and Markstrom gives up that goal. It was pinpoint accurate.
I'm not sure anybody gives up. I'm not sure anybody stops that goal. I mean, because as a goalie, he did exactly what you're supposed to do. You make the shooter hit a post and go in. You make him make the perfect shot, and that was I tell
you who makes that save? A bad goalie. You know why? Because they're out of position, and it's just. I've always said that whenever I play against a bad goalie, I always put it right in their chest because I'm shooting for how I think they'll react, and I always with a bad goalie, I can't.
Who makes that
figure it out?
Jacques Plante makes that save because he was a stand-up goalie.
That's true.
He would not have been down. He would have been up. So any stand-up goalies probably make that save, but no goalie today makes that save.
Agree.
So
I was going to say that's Vancouver being opportunistic. And again, I'm not taking away anything from them. They are finding holes in the Blues game, and they are capitalizing every single time. Even though the Blues are dominating play, even at this point, I think at the start of Game 4, maybe it was the start of Game 3. Darren Pang made a comment about how the Blues' offensive pressure was like double in zone time what the Canucks were. It's just the Canucks were capitalizing on every opportunity they got.
And 5-on-5, the Blues have owned. If you look at any was it Statica or what's the Corsica Stats, whatever the hell the name of the site is, you look at the 5-on-5 comparison, the graphs. Oh my God. The Blues are dominating 5-on-5. Even in games 1 and 2, they had the edge 5-on-5 in games they lost. So the Blues have owned the Canucks overall in this series 5-on-5.
Owns.
And this goes to overtime. Shen scores in a breakaway goal, which fan-fucking-tastic on a blind backhand breakout pass from O'Reilly, which intentional or not, whatever, it was amazing. And that caused Bill to win the Bucci Overtime Challenge.
Congrats, Bill.
Twitter.
I didn't get a retweet though. That's the thing that bothered me. I showed you guys the DM, right? But I didn't get a retweet.
Yeah, I the minute you said that, the first thing I did was hop on Butchie's Twitter, and I did not see a retweet. I'm like, what?
Right.
He said he won, right?
He didn't retweet anybody for like 30 minutes because he was doing a show when that happened.
Okay.
So
he can't do two things at once. Come on.
I tweet while we do a show. What a pussy.
But you don't do it in makeup though, or do
That's
you?
true. Well, no, maybe. You tell me.
No, I will. Depending on what I win. If I win a tank, I'm not wearing it on air. But if I get a hat, I'll wear it on air next week.
Breaking news apparently in the YouTube chat. I haven't checked Twitter or the feeds from the reporters, but Barbashev's in tonight.
Yeah.
And Allen's in. Allen's in. Let's see. The fourth line is Barbashev with De La Rose and Kyrou.
Like
So
it.
that's interesting. Yeah. And I don't
McEachern
know.
brought some energy, but he wasn't effective.
Yeah, he's out.
Sunquist was on that line, right? Well, they wouldn't have scratched him. Who'd they
Sunquist was
scratch?
moved up.
No,
wasn't he?
Sunquist has been playing with
Yeah, he's moved up.
he's been playing with Perron and O'Reilly.
Yeah,
So why am I-
because people were saying that Thomas should have had his spot.
I'm drawing a blank here. Then who's out? Then
McEachern.
McEachern. That makes sense. Okay,
Or as Kelly would say, McEachern.
McEachern.
McEachern. I don't know.
Okay, so about Game 3, because we need to get into Game 4. The only thing I'll add is, like Kurt says here in our document we share, the whistles were put away, and that's how the Blues are going to win. And again, I think that's why last year the Stanley Cup Final went to 7 games, was because they started calling everything. And it was just the Bruins power play, just score, because that's the only way that team wins games. Sorry, Bruins fans, it's the truth. And so, when that happens, the Blues play 5-on-5 better than anybody in the NHL. So when the whistles are put away, nobody beats them. And that's exactly what happened in this game. And the Blues capitalized. They played a great game. They got back to their game and winning in overtime off a Braden Shin goal, which a guy who there's nobody else in the roster that deserved a goal more than that guy. He had an unbelievable game and could not solve Markstrom, put in plenty of hits throughout the night. And it just so good. And the fact that he was able to get the game winner, that thrust the Blues into playing Blues hockey into Game 4.
So going into Game 4 then, Allen is back in net in Game 4, which upset some people.
I was fine with it.
I was too.
I say 3 of us. I think we're good with it.
You got to. I mean, I'm not.
Yep.
I'm just
go with the hot hand.
See him. Yeah, I mean, and Allen was good, and the team played well in front of him.
Even if Binnington and Allen played the exact same, I would say go with the goal that just won you a game, your first game in the tournament.
And again, this is not Allen taking over the number one. It's just ebbs and flows of goaltending. That's the way it works. Their best game of the series, probably the Blues in this game, Game 4. Allen strong again. O'Reilly scores. This is O'Reilly's game, really. He scores after a shot off the end boards from Petro. Bad angle for a lefty, but he buried it. Panger thought it was a set play. Talked about it in the game, but in the post-game interviews, Petro said it was not. He was looking for a tip on the shot. The only puck that got by Allen was a nice reduction from a point shot against him all game. So he played strong.
Yeah, great tip by JT Miller.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. O'Reilly's second goal of the game, he was allowed to walk in alone after some pressure. And if you watch O'Reilly's practice drills where he's stick handling and working on going top corner and close, where he lays a goal down in front of the goal and he stick handles back and forth over some sticks that are in front and then chips backhand and forehand up in the corners on the stand-up goal. That's like the exact situation and scenario that drill is for. And he buried it.
It's something that my hockey teammates and I have talked about because he's so pinpoint sometimes with shots and passes like that. And it's like, is it that weird little thing he has at the toe of his blade? Like, why is he able to pull the kind of stuff he pulls?
Well, that was a backhand. So
obviously that had nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. If anything, it had a shorter stick. But Pietrangelo added an insurance goal to give the Blues the most dangerous lead in hockey. 2-goal lead, went off a defender's stick in the net. Counts
even with that though, did you guys not feel a little more? Did you guys not feel a little more confident with a 2-goal lead going into the third period? I mean, I was still nervous, but knowing the Blues and they were playing their game, 2 goals in the third period, I'll take it.
I'm always more confident with a 2-goal lead. The most dangerous lead in hockey thing is a bunch of bullshit. Give me a 2-goal lead over 1-goal lead anytime. It was a 5-on-3. First 5-on-3 goal since 2016, 17. It's been a long time.
17, I think.
They did get one last year in the playoffs, didn't they? 5-on-3, was that right?
Against San Jose, they did.
Yeah. Okay.
They can't do it in the regular season. Yeah.
No.
Do it in the playoffs.
And Vancouver in this game went 0 for 7 on the power play. So the whistles were out.
Their power play went from 58% to 32%. in
the
one
the
game.
Blues were aggressive on the penalty kill, which is what killed them in the first two games. I feel like they were way too timid. They were playing the box, and which works for some teams, but the Blues, like the puck goes along the boards, they've got to get a guy out there pressuring, and they just were not doing that in the first two games. And I feel like they did that in this game and in game 3 as well. And all of a sudden, Vancouver seemed like they didn't know what to do. They were lost in the offensive zone, and the Blues were dominating the defensive zone.
The Blues heavy game too.
Yep.
Vancouver scores 5 in the first game, 4 in the second, 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth. So the heavy game of the Blues could be wearing on Vancouver. The Blues, they shut down the Vancouver's power play last game, and then it was a 3-1 win. So if you shut down Vancouver's power play, you shut down Vancouver, especially against us 5-on-5, where we're superior vastly to them 5-on-5.
I'll say, though, that 4-on-4, they are fucking terrifying.
Well, yeah, they're more open ice. Yeah.
Yep.
So Patty Bast.
Canadians just gave up the lead and took it back.
Okay. Patty Bass in YouTube chat is giving us updates on the lineup because I don't have it up in front of me, but they just posted it a little bit ago. Barbashev on the fourth line with De La Rose and Kyrou we talked about. Schwartz, O'Reilly, and Perron first line. Second line is Sonny, Shen, and Bozak. Third is Sanford, Thomas, and Blais. Fourth is Kyrou, De La Rose, and Barbie. So, and Bertuzzo sits again.
So, all right. So talk about this game because we're coming to a point where we need to close it up. You guys think, let's just say key to the game, which I don't like using that term, but keep doing exactly what you're...
Sponsored by Toyota.
Exactly. Keep doing exactly what you do in game 3 and 4. You just wear them down. Forecheck. You're aggressive on the penalty kill and don't take stupid penalties. And there's a good chance you win the next 2 games.
I picked the Blues in 6 in this series, and Vancouver has won their 2 that I allotted them. So I think the Blues win tonight. They have to for my prediction to come true. So
I forgot where I heard it. I don't think we talked about it on the show last week, but the stat I heard was the last 2 times that the defending Stanley Cup champions went down 2-0 to start a series, they won in 6, and that was the Hawks and the Kings
against us. Yeah.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Portends well. I don't think history will repeat itself. I still think this one's going to wind up going 7 games. If the Blues play and Ryan O'Reilly plays like he's played, the Blues have this series.
I agree. The Blues are the better team. It's a best of 3 now. The Blues, the last game was the best game they played. That they, for the first time, they looked like the team that won the Cup last year. I don't have a reason to think that was going to regress any. Obviously it could, but there's no reason to assume it would. So we'll see how it goes. Stay out of the box. We win the game. Let's see. Tarasenko leaves the bubble. Shoulder being reevaluated. That's scary, concerning. Could be, if he has to have surgery, his 3rd one in 3 years or so. So that's not cool.
Shades of Robbie Fabry.
It could be his career because they said that when you injure your shoulder, the type of injury he has, it becomes more and more likely to be injured again. So this is the 3rd time. And they speculate if he does injure it again before he came back, if he does injure it again, his career could be in jeopardy. So because he might not get cleared to play if it may be too much of a risk. So we'll see what the injury is. Could be soreness, could be scar tissue, could be something they're checking him out. So maybe mostly precautionary.
We all agree they played better without him, but at the same time, like when he's 100%, you want him in the lineup. So hopefully it's just a matter of, we just have to tweak this or, rehab this a little more and he'll be fine in a couple weeks, but we'll see.
And the thing too, he's done for the series. That's not because of the severity of the injury or anything like that, but he's done for the series because if you leave the bubble, you need to test test negative 4 times. You're out for a while anyway. You just can't return to the ice for a while. So that's to say,
Barbashev's been back for like 5 or 6 days now, right?
Right, he got back Saturday, right?
He was cleared to skate yesterday. He hasn't been allowed to turn on the ice. He's been quarantined to his hotel room. But he was allowed to return to the ice yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. So, we to this no goalie controversy and our thoughts for Game 5 we just went over. So I think we're good. We can wrap this show up.
Yeah.
You guys, what's your pick for tonight?
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll let you go. You've thought it out.
Well, like I said, I picked the Blues in 6. So for that to happen, the Blues have to win tonight. So I'm gonna stick with that.
I think it's gonna be a close game. I think still. I think Vancouver's gonna fight back hard, but I still put the Blues on top. I'm saying probably by 1 goal, 2-1, 3-2, something like that.
I don't like doing scores, but I think if trends continue, if trends continue, I mean the Blues are on their game right now. They've held Vancouver's power play to 0 for last game, and they've outplayed them 5-on-5. If they don't take stupid penalties, if they stay out of the box, they'll win this game.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think the key is going to be keeping Vancouver off the power play, keeping the game 5-on-5, and getting O'Reilly to control the game and push it down in their zone.
All right, that'll wrap up episode 78 of season. Did you give your prediction right, Jeff?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay,
we're good.
Okay, we're good. That'll wrap up season 8, episode 78 of the original St. Louis Blues Hockey Podcast. Let's Go Blues Radio. Thanks for listening, and thanks to those who participated in the YouTube and Facebook live chats during the live show. We hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. The Blues game is going to start in a few minutes. Game 5 against Vancouver. It's a home game.
Vancouver!
Vancouver! For Jeff Bonder
Carl
and
Glenn.
and Bill Day, I'm Kurt Price. Until next time, everyone, let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
The Chiefs are at home tonight against Cyanosport at the War Memorial at 8. Good seats are still available. A look at sport. I think that went very well.
Thank you for listening to Let's Go Blues Radio. Now take off, hosers.
Well, there's 90 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Sorry.
St. Louis Blues, St. Louis Blues. Have you heard the news about our St. Louis Blues? They've only just begun, they're on their way to number 1. Now there's no more blues for our St. Louis Blues. The Blues are on the ice tonight again. They're rough and tough and got the stuff to win.